Welcome to a journey through one of the darkest yet most transformative times in human history. Today, we're diving deep into the events, battles, ideologies, and legacies of World War II. It was a war that not only reshaped nations, but also profoundly impacted the lives of millions, setting the stage for the modern world we live in. Join us as we explore the conflict that spanned continents, redrew borders, and laid the foundations for both the Cold War and global cooperation. From the rise of dangerous ideologies to the bravery of everyday people, this story is complex, human, and incredibly important to remember. World War II was one of the most transformative events of the 20th century, shaping the modern world and leaving a legacy that continues to impact our lives today. It was a global conflict like no other, involving over 100 million people from more than 30 countries across 6 continents. The war spanned from 1939 to 1945, and in those 6 years, the world witnessed unspeakable tragedies, heroic resilience, and critical turning points that ultimately reshaped nations and led to the world order we recognize today. The roots of World War II can be traced back to the aftermath of World War I. Known as the Great War, WWI had left Europe ravaged and economically weakened, with political instability brewing across many nations. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, aimed to bring peace, but its terms were harsh on Germany, leading to a climate of resentment and economic turmoil. German territories were confiscated, military power was severely limited, and the nation was forced to pay immense reparations, leaving its economy in shambles. This created fertile ground for extremist ideologies to take root, as the German population grew disillusioned with the government and desperate for a change. In the midst of this, a man named Adolf Hitler rose to prominence. As the leader of the Nazi Party, he promised to restore Germany's pride, rebuild its economy, and expand its borders. By 1933, Hitler had seized total control of Germany, establishing a dictatorship that would soon be responsible for some of the most horrifying atrocities in human history. Hitler's vision was fueled by a belief in Aryan racial superiority and a desire for Lebensraum, or living space, which he planned to secure through aggressive expansion across Europe. This ambition set the stage for conflict as Germany began violating the Treaty of Versailles, rebuilding its military, and annexing territories in defiance of international agreements. The immediate spark that ignited World War II came on September 1, 1939, when Germany invaded Poland. This invasion marked the beginning of a brutal strategy known as Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War, a fast and forceful approach to warfare involving coordinated attacks by air and land. Within weeks, Poland fell, and both Britain and France, having pledged to support Poland, declared war on Germany. This was the official beginning of World War II, though the conflict would soon draw in nations far beyond Europe's borders. In 1940, Hitler's forces continued their rapid advance, taking control of Denmark and Norway, and soon after Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. The Nazi war machine seemed unstoppable, and by June of that year, German troops had captured Paris. France was forced to surrender, leaving Britain as the last major power in Western Europe to stand against Hitler. The Battle of Britain soon followed, a relentless aerial campaign in which Germany aimed to crush British resistance and force a surrender. Despite relentless bombing raids, the British, led by Prime Minister Winston Churchill, held their ground. The Royal Air Force, using advanced radar technology and unbreakable resolve, managed to fend off the Luftwaffe, marking Hitler's first major defeat and proving that his ambitions could be checked. Meanwhile, in Eastern Europe, Germany signed a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union, led by Joseph Stalin. This agreement, known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, shocked the world as Hitler and Stalin were ideologically opposed. However, both dictators saw strategic advantages in a temporary alliance. This pact allowed Germany to focus on its Western Front without fear of a Soviet attack, while Stalin used the opportunity to annex parts of Eastern Europe, including parts of Poland, the Baltic states, and Finland. But the alliance would not last. By 1941, Hitler turned his attention eastward in an audacious plan to invade the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa, as it was called, was the largest invasion in history, with over 3 million German soldiers crossing into Soviet territory. Hitler believed that the Soviet Union would be an easy target, but he vastly underestimated both the resilience of the Soviet people and the brutal Russian winter. The Germans initially made significant gains, pushing deep into Soviet territory and reaching the outskirts of Moscow. However, both dictators saw strategic advantages in a temporary alliance. This pact allowed Germany to focus on its western front without fear of a Soviet attack, while Stalin used the opportunity to annex parts of Eastern Europe, including parts of Poland, the Baltic states, and Finland. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new daily videos. But the alliance would not last. By 1941, Hitler turned his attention eastward in an audacious plan to invade the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa, as it was called, was the largest invasion in history, with over 3 million German soldiers crossing into Soviet territory. Hitler believed that the Soviet Union would be an easy target, but he vastly underestimated both the resilience of the Soviet people and the brutal Russian winter. The Germans initially made significant gains, pushing deep into Soviet territory and reaching the outskirts of Moscow. However, the Soviet Union launched a fierce counterattack, turning the tide at key battles such as Stalingrad. This marked a turning point in the war as the Soviet Union began to push German forces back toward Europe. As the conflict in Europe raged on, a new front opened in Asia. Japan, an Axis power allied with Germany and Italy, had imperial ambitions across Asia and the Pacific. Tensions between Japan and the United States were escalating, primarily over Japan's aggression in China and its quest for resources in Southeast Asia. On December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, killing thousands and crippling a significant portion of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The next day, the United States declared war on Japan, officially entering World War II. Shortly after, Germany and Italy declared war on the U.S., making the conflict truly global. The U.S. entry into the war brought significant resources and military strength to the Allied side. American factories ramped up production, supplying weapons, vehicles, and materials to Allied forces in both Europe and the Pacific. This influx of resources, coupled with the determination and sacrifices of Allied soldiers and citizens, began to turn the tide against the Axis powers. In North Africa, British and American forces successfully defeated the German Afrika Korps, and by 1943, the Allies were launching offensives in Italy, liberating Rome in June of 1944. One of the most famous and decisive events of World War II was the D-Day invasion on June 6, 1944. Known as Operation Overlord, this was the largest amphibious assault in history, with Allied forces landing on the beaches of Normandy, France. Led by General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the operation involved soldiers from the United States, Britain, Canada, and other Allied nations, who bravely stormed heavily fortified beaches under relentless German fire. The invasion was a critical success, allowing the Allies to establish a foothold in Western Europe and begin pushing German forces back. With the Western Front opened, Germany found itself squeezed on both sides as the Soviets advanced from the east. In a matter of months, Allied forces liberated Paris, and by early 1945, they had crossed into Germany. Meanwhile, in the Pacific, American forces were engaged in intense battles with Japan on islands like Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Despite suffering heavy losses, the Allies continued to push forward, inching closer to Japan's main islands. In April 1945, as Allied forces closed in on Berlin, Adolf Hitler committed suicide, effectively signaling the end of Nazi Germany. On May 7th, Germany officially surrendered, marking Victory in Europe Day, or VE Day. However, the war in the Pacific was far from over. Japan continued to resist fiercely, and U.S. President Harry S. Truman faced a difficult decision: continue the bloody island-hopping campaign or use a new and terrifying weapon, the atomic bomb. On August 6th and August 9th, 1945, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The destruction was unprecedented, killing tens of thousands instantly and devastating both cities. Faced with this overwhelming power and the prospect of further bombings, Japan surrendered on August 15, 1945, marking the official end of World War II. The war's impact was immense. It caused an estimated 70 to 85 million deaths, including civilians, soldiers, and victims of genocide. Today, we remember World War II as a testament to the resilience of humanity and the importance of standing against oppression. Its lessons continue to shape our world, urging us to remember the costs of conflict and to strive for a more peaceful future. If you found this exploration of World War II compelling, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and stay curious.